Okay, let's go back live to New York City outside the courthouse, and you can see a throng of protesters on hand outside the courthouse there. And apparently, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene organizing this protest outside the courthouse where former President Donald Trump is set to appear before a judge today in connection with a hush money investigation. So we don't know the specifics of what Trump is being charged with exactly, but they are widely believed to focus on those hush money payments made to one or maybe even two women, including former adult film star Stormy Daniels. So legal analyst Ann Bremner joining us now live this morning with a breakdown on this historic arraignment and what comes next. Ann, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's run this down. This is the first time a former president will answer for criminal charges before a judge. How do you expect the arraignment to go? I mean, this is a pretty straightforward proceeding, right?
It's very quick and perfunctory. I mean, it's basically, do you waive reading of the indictment or do you want it read, basically? And how do you plead, guilty or not guilty? He can plead, or his lawyer can say on his behalf, please enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf, and then it's over.
Okay, and so when he arrives at the courthouse, and we expect that to happen about 2 o'clock New York time today, he will go in, he will be fingerprinted, he will be booked at that time?
Right, but there's no mugshot, as we understand it. Okay. I guess they don't want that disseminated everywhere, although it would be confidential in New York, but then he could put it out because he'll get a copy. So basically, it's an INR, investigation and release, we call it. Go in, you go on record, basically, that you're charged with a felony and with your fingerprints, etc., and then you're released.
Okay, so for the arraignment hearing, as you say, it's perfunctory and it's going to be not guilty. We assume that he will be released on his own recognizance with no criminal history, right?
Right. And so then the question is, you know, the judge will set some hearings down the line, but there's no question he'll walk out of there and be back in Florida tonight to give a speech, as long as there's not a gag order. Now, that's another question in the case, whether there's going to be one imposed.
And the judge in this case is the same one that heard the case for Trump's organization and actually charged Weisselman, who was the accountant for the Trump organization as well, right? So this is a judge that has some knowledge of the Trump organization. Right,
and the company was found guilty and fined the maximum $1.6 million. And as Trump said, that judge hates me. That's what he said out on the internet or on some of his postings. And so the question is, why is the same judge that had that case, why does he have this case? And it may well be that he's recused or that he's replaced. Also, Trump's asking to have this moved to Staten Island because he said 1% of, I think he said Manhattan basically votes 1% Republican.
Okay, what we don't know is what these charges are exactly. We are assuming that this is the hush money that was paid to Stormy Daniels, potentially another woman, but there is the possibility that other charges could be filed in conjunction with the organization and maybe some of the charges that Weisselman faced. So when they unseal that, that indictment, we'll find out what the charges are, right?
Exactly. And the counts could simply mean the number of times that allegedly there were business documents that were, you know, fraudulently entered in a certain way, saying this was legal cause as opposed to something else. And so that's why we have so many. That's what I would surmise. But we've also got cases looked at in Georgia and Fulton County, of course, and also Florida with the federal classified documents.
Okay, so what's the timeline for this case in this courtroom in New York? I mean, these things typically flow kind of glacially, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, the speedy trial rule there is six months, but it probably won't be tried within 6 months, and he probably doesn't want it tried before the election. I mean, that's way far out. But keep in mind, a felon can be a president or run for president. Right,
you can be in jail and convicted and run for president.
Right, and there's a couple of people that did that before, and all that's required to run for president is that you're 35 years old or older, right, or a naturalized citizen in addition, and you've been in the country 14 years. That's it.
Ann Bremner, legal analyst, we appreciate your time,
My
as
pleasure.
always, and we'll have a lot more to discuss in the coming days for sure.
Thank you.
Liz, over to you.